Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Jai Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajacharya Ashtatra Shata Shishmat His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Shriya Prabhupada Ki Jai Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Nitai Gaura Premanande. All glories to the assembly of devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembly of devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembly of devotees, Hare Krishna. All glories to Shishi Guru and Gauranga. All glories to Shriya Prabhupada Ki Jai. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshwa Bhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. Grantara Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai. So we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 10, Text 3. Suto Vacha Evam Sanchoditastena Evam Sanchoditastena Kshatra Kaushara Virmuni Kshatra Kaushara Virmuni Prita Pratyahatan Prashnan Prita Pratyahatan Prashnan Hridistan Atabargava Hridistan Atabargava Evam Sanchoditastena Kshatra Kaushara Virmuni Prita Pratyaha Tan Prashnan Hridistan Atabargava. Sutta Vacha Evam Sanchoditastena Sutta Vacha Evam Sanchoditastena Kshatra Kaushara Virmani Prita Prityaha Tan Prashnan Hridistana Tabargava. Mataji, would you like? Sutta Vacha Evam Sanchoditastena Kshatra Kaushara Virmuni Prita Prityaha Tan Prashnan Hridistan Atabargava. Thank you very much. Sutta Vacha Shri Sutta Goswami said, Evam this Sanchodita being enlivened, Thena by him, Kshatra by Vidura, Kausharavi the son of Kushara, Muni great sage, Prita being pleased, Pratyaha replied, Tan those, Prashnan questions, Hridistan from the core of his heart, Atha this, Bhargava, O son of Brigu. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Sutta Goswami said, O son of Brigu, the great sage Maitreya, Maitreya Muni, this hearing from Vidura felt very much enlivened. Everything was in his heart, and thus he began to reply to the questions one after another. Purport. The phrase Sutta Vacha, Sutta Goswami said, appears to indicate a break in the discourse between Maharaja Parikshit and Shukadeva Goswami. While Shukadeva Goswami was speaking to Maharaja Parikshit, Sutta Goswami was only one member of a large audience. But Sutta Goswami was speaking to the sages of Naimisharanya, headed by the sage Shaunaka, a descendant of Shukadeva Goswami. This, however, does not make any substantial difference in the topics under discussion. Again, the verse. Sutta Goswami said, O son of Bhrigu, the great sage Maitreya Muni, thus hearing from Vidura, felt very much enlivened. Everything was in his heart, and thus he began to reply to the questions one after another. Omagyana timirandasya gnanjana shilakaya chakshurun militam yena tasmai shri gurave namaha. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare, Hare Rama 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 Hare Hare. So first I want to ask for permission and blessings to speak from the senior devotees. Hare Krishna. Srila Prabhupada is mentioning that Bhagavatam, it's from one perspective, it's very interesting literature because we have many conversations within each other. We know the basic conversation is between Parikshit Maharaj, who is asking questions, Shukadeva Goswami. But then we are hearing how Sutta Goswami is actually telling this to the sages of Naimisharanya. And then sometimes, as a reference, to answering to a question, he is giving different conversations that actually happened even much more long time ago. Like in this case, we have Maitreya Muni and Vidura speaking. So often actually we have few conversations going within each other, which makes Srimad Bhagavatam interesting literature. But as Srila Prabhupada is saying, this does not change the main topics under discussion. Whether the discussion is between Maitreya Muni and Vidura, Sutta Goswami and the sages of Naimisharanya, or Shukadeva Goswami and Parikshit Maharaj, basically the same topics are discussed. And these are the topics of pure devotional service. So today, I plan to speak a little bit about pure devotional service. But before going to this, I would like just to mention a few important things that we can get from this verse and the purport of Srila Prabhupada. Mainly that the essence, we could say the essence of the process of Bhakti Yoga is just exchange of transcendental knowledge through the media of questions and answers. So we have someone who is eager to know and he is answering questions, and we have someone who is eager and qualified to answer, and he is transmitting, he is giving the spiritual knowledge, transcendental knowledge. So what are the qualifications of the inquirer and the person who is answering the questions? Well, as we see here, the inquirer, he should know what kind of questions to answer. He should be able to, with his questions, basically to enlighten the speaker in a sense that makes him enthusiastic to speak, make him desirous to speak. And so his questions should be proper, and also very, very important, they should be asked with a proper mood. When we have conversation, when we have dialogue, it's very important the topic of discussion, but also it's extremely important the mood with which the discussion is going on. If the mood is not proper, somehow the flow of the discussion may be over very easily. Like, for example, if you see that someone is staying in front of you, but he is not really waiting to hear something from you, rather he's waiting for the opportunity the moment to tell you how the things are, or he's just waiting for your talk to finish so that he can go and do other things which are more important. Well, this definitely makes the speaker kind of discouraged of speaking. Like yesterday, Arjuna Nandaprabhu, he was organizing this program downstairs for relatively new people. And nice boys, mainly Indian boys, quite intelligent, studying, all of them, they study masters here or something like that, computer engineers. So one of the boys was from Columbia University, and apparently he was very intelligent boy. He is very intelligent boy, but he had this very strong tendency to first to show off how he knows everything. Secondly, somehow he was getting really big pleasure from this to tell you that you don't know and you're wrong. So because we did little bit kirtan, and I just tried to say something as an introduction to the talk of Arjuna Prabhu, and for maybe 2 minutes talk, he managed to stop me 5 times. So basically, on every sentence that I was saying, he was saying, "Sorry, but I don't agree with you. This is not right." And after a few times of this, we have to just stop and go back to the Sambandha again. Okay, so now who is speaking, who is listening? Maybe we have to exchange our roles. So that is important. The person who wants to receive transcendental knowledge, receive mercy, he has to have this proper mood, and he should ask the proper questions. Like yesterday, we were mentioning that mercy is like the water, because always goes from up to down. So if we think that we are too high, we cannot be receivers of mercy. In order to become receivers of mercy, we have to accept lower position than the place from which the mercy is coming. In the same way, the person who wants to get knowledge, he should have this mood, the mood that I don't know, and I'm coming to ask, and I'm coming to get something out of you. Otherwise, it will be difficult. And then from the side of the speaker, well, we know that the first qualification of the speaker is he has to be authorized speaker. And what means to be authorized? Well, you have to follow authority. Otherwise, you cannot be authorized. If you are already following authority, then you can be authorized when you speak. Basically, repeat what you already heard from an authority. So this is one important quality of the speaker. Other important qualities that he should be, some places in Bhagavatam it is mentioned, he should be vastly learned. Why? Because then he'll be able to answer the questions, and not just answer them, but answer them to the full satisfaction of the student who wants to get knowledge. So this is other secondary qualification, but we could say important qualification. Of course, sometimes we know that Srila Prabhupada was making the position of authority and guru very simple. Like sometimes Srila Prabhupada was saying things like, you just have to repeat what you heard from guru. That's it. It's very simple task. And he was giving the example with the small Saraswati, how she was perfect guru because she was just going to the people and she was saying, do you know who is Krishna? She was saying, Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So that's it, very simple. But if the speaker is learned, then this helps the discussion to go nicely. And yes, here in this verse, that the speaker is very learned, we get from the phrase, everything was in his heart. So he was so qualified that Krishna already revealed all the conclusions of the Vedic knowledge, of the transcendental knowledge in the heart of Maitreya Muni, and he was totally qualified to answer all the questions of Vidura, to his full satisfaction, full happiness. And of course, as Srila Prabhupada is saying, there is no any substantial difference in the topics under discussion. The topics are always the same, namely the pure devotional service. This is always the discussions in these circles, in the conversations that we see on the pages of Srimad Bhagavatam. And with Pandava Prabhu, the last few weeks, we started one online, like a talk on Madhurya Kadambini. And I don't know, I always, when I go to Madhurya Kadambini, I feel very enlightened somehow. I like this book very much. So I can share a few of the things mentioned there in the beginning of the book. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is, in the beginning, he's discussing how in order to start the process of pure devotional service, you required a specific faith, because there are many people around the world and everybody has a faith, but faith in what? So in order to start the process of bhakti, you need a specific faith, and he's calling this faith the pure faith, opposite to mixed faith. He's speaking about two kinds of faith. Well, of course, mixed faith means that you desire different things at the same time. You may desire Krishna, but at the same time, you may desire other things, and these different goals may be balanced in your consciousness, in your heart. Even maybe sometimes other goals, different than pure devotional service, may take a higher position in your value system. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying, this is disqualification for practicing pure devotional service. Of course, someone may say, hey, wait a minute. If this is disqualification, I mean, most of us here, what we are doing here in Krishna consciousness. I have material desires in my heart. I'm not a pure devotee. Well, disqualifications in a sense, if we put these other goals in a higher position than the goal of pure devotional service, then it becomes disqualification. But if we still have some material desires in our heart, but we are totally focused that actually our main and only goal in life is pure devotional service and achieving the association of Krishna, the association of the pure devotees, spiritual world, then it's not a problem, because still we can practice pure devotional service. So the problem is if we think that there is something more important in this life than pure bhakti. And this is how Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is defining pure bhakti. He is saying pure faith. Pure faith means that you have firm belief that there is nothing higher in this life that you can achieve than pure devotional service. This is the highest thing you can achieve. And he's saying this is the qualification to start the process of bhakti. And when we start this process of bhakti, by having little faith, of course, where we are getting this faith, I mean, we have to get it from the bhaktas. There is no other place from where to get it. Of course, Nectar of Devotion is saying sometimes this can come just by the special mercy of Krishna, but generally this is an exception. Generally, we get the mercy from the devotees and from the devotees preachers. Krishna, he likes to invest this potency and this choice in his devotees preachers, that they have the freedom to decide to whom to give mercy. And Krishna is very happy to make the things in this way, that his mercy is following the mercy of his devotees. So when a devotee decides to give mercy to someone, Krishna is saying, okay, I'll give you also. I will give also mercy to the same person, to the same devotee. It's very interesting how Krishna is ready to totally follow the decisions of his devotees. He's the Supreme Lord. He's the greatest personality in the whole universe. But he's saying, no problem. Whatever my devotee decides, I will follow his decision. It's amazing. This proves that Krishna is person, actually. He is acting as a personality. So once we get this Shraddha, then we start to associate with devotees. And how we associate with the devotees? Well, basically what it is described in this verse. We just go to the devotees and we try to associate with them, and we try with the proper mood to ask them proper questions. And if they are happy, if they are satisfied with us, they start answering our questions. And this knowledge that we are getting from them further makes us enthusiastic on the path of bhakti. And then at some point, gradually it is expected that the devotee, he becomes so enthusiastic with this association, he becomes so enlightened that he wants to do something active, practically for Krishna. Okay, let me do something for Krishna. If Krishna is the Supreme Lord, if I'm his servant, and serving him can make me really happy and satisfied, this is the greatest happiness in life. Okay, then let me do some service. And then gradually, this candidate for pure devotional service, he should start doing something practical for Krishna. And then in this book, Madhurya Kadambini, it is explained that the devotee enters into the realm of Anishtita Bhajana Kriya. Bhajana Kriya means performing devotional service, but this devotional service is Anishtita. Why? Because it's broken from time to time because of the different anarthas in the heart of this devotee. So he wants to steadily do devotional service, but again and again, because of his anarthas, he stops for a while and then he continues again. And after some time, the process of devotional service is freeing him from these anarthas, and then he comes to the realm of Nishtita Bhajana Kriya, or what we generally know in the devotee circles as Nishta, the platform of Nishta. So there in this book are described very interesting stages through which devotee goes one after the other on his performance of unsteady devotional service. And there are 6. And I don't know, maybe some of us, they'll be able to recognize themselves in some of those levels. I always, when I was reading them, it was big fun because I read and yeah, this is me. This is me. So that means I'm still definitely on the level of unsteady devotional service, if I can recognize myself there. So the first level is known as Utsahamai. And Utsahamai, very interesting example is given, like a student who just starts his studies, but he already thinks that he knows better than the people who are studying 10 years, 15 years, that they have PhD. He already thinks he got the subject so well that he knows the things better than them. So basically, devotional service, which is very much influenced by pride. Because of this pride, you think everything already is known to you. This is the level of Utsahamai. It's Utsaha, enthusiasm. So the devotee comes in Krishna consciousness. He's very, very, very enthusiastic, but at the same time, he's very proud that already he knows everything. Yes. Pandava Prabhu is mentioning brahmachari, sannyasi, rasalila. There was some senior devotee who once said this on one lecture. My plan was very simple, just for a few days, brahmachari, sannyasi, rasalila. But it didn't quite work like that for me. So yes, that's the first level. And then gradually the devotee, he starts understanding, well, actually it looks like I'm not so advanced, and I'm thinking I am. And then he's ready to put more himself into the practice, into the devotional service. But then he comes to the second level, which is sometimes he's enthusiastic, but sometimes he's not enthusiastic. So basically that means he's influenced by the modes of material nature. And that's why sometimes he's more enthusiastic from the mode of goodness, and then he feels like nicely situated in devotional service. His mind is peaceful. His anarthas are not disturbing him, and he's thinking, okay, now I am really making advancement in devotional service. He's enthusiastic to do different activities. And then the next moment, the passion start growing up, and then all these anarthas gradually start appearing in his heart. Oh no, I thought I'm already freed from this desire, and now it's gained back, and it's creating so much trouble in my mind. Oh no, Krishna, what to do with this? And then the next moment he's influenced by ignorance, and he doesn't want to do anything. He doesn't want to get up for Mangalarati. He's late for everything that he's doing. He doesn't want to read the books. And then after a few days, again, Sattva-guna, and again he becomes enthusiastic. So like that. Sometimes he's doing his devotional service very nicely, sometimes opposite way. He doesn't want to do anything, speak with anybody. So this is the second level. The third level, it's called Vyuda Vikalpa. Vyuda Vikalpa means that the intelligence of the devotee is constantly, we could say, Bahushaka, many branch. He's not sure what exactly to do within the realm of devotional service, but also as a general. He is not totally fixed still that devotional service is the only thing, and he just have to forget about everything else and give prime place in his life just for satisfying Krishna. And on that level also, sometimes in the mind of the devotee, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is explaining in the book, is this big dilemma of, should I get married or stay a brahmachari? Can you recognize this a little bit? So one day the devotee is kind of feeling strong in devotional service, and he's thinking, okay, let me just surrender fully to Krishna consciousness, because this is the most important thing. And next moment he's thinking, but actually I am not still ready for this because I have so many material desires in my heart. No, better let me just be honest with myself and get married and just make my family life totally Krishna consciousness. In this way, I'll advance very steadily in my devotional service. The next moment, his mind is again giving him some quotes from Shastra. But no, Rishabhadeva is saying that spiritual life is totally meant for tapodivyam, divine austerity. So I have to do it immediately, now, on the spot. So like that, he's going back and forth, back and forth. So basically that means, as we said for the previous stage, that still the mind of the devotee is very much influenced by the modes of material nature. And that's why, according to the change of the modes, his plans are changing as well. Sometimes he wants completely to dedicate to the spiritual life. Next moment, he's thinking, no, I cannot just transcend everything. Rather, I have to just fulfill my material desires, and then maybe later I can do that. So basically, he is not above the dualities of the material existence. That's why he cannot be steady in his devotional service. And then the next level is Vishaya Sangara. So the devotee, he fixes his mind in this steady determination that devotional service should be the most important thing in my life. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is writing something very interesting. He's saying, at this point, the devotee figures it out. What is on the west cannot be found in the east. So that material sense gratification and spiritual happiness are two different things. And in order to achieve full advancement in Krishna consciousness, one should get rid from the desires and activities of sense gratification. And then this level means the devotee, he is starting the war with Maya. He is saying, from today on, no anymore any sense gratification. And then he's really trying for this, but then after some time he cannot do it. And then again he becomes victim of the desires of the mind. And after that, again, he's fixing himself and he's saying, no, this time I couldn't make it, but next time I'll be completely successful. And then he's trying again. But again, after some time, he cannot do it. And again, he's falling down. So he's trying to win this war with Maya, but from time to time, he has problems and he cannot do it. And again, he's saying, Shiva Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying, the devotee is thinking, just see, I am the most fallen, the most wretched from all devotees. But although I am so low, I will never give up my determination to surrender completely to the process of devotional service. And because of that, he's never leaving his devotional practices. Although he may have problems, he never leaves. He's very determined, very steady in his devotional practice. And then after some practice, he comes to the level known as Niyamakshama, where he doesn't have any more problems with the material sense gratification. Then at that level, the devotee, he wants to increase his spiritual practice, to make his spiritual practice more intense, so that he can advance faster on spiritual path. But although he wants this very strongly, and he is giving vows day after day, at the end, he cannot completely fulfill them. Like, for example, devotee saying, from today on, I will be chanting 64 rounds. And then he's kind of doing it, but after some time, he cannot do it anymore. Or he's saying, today is Ekadashi, and I will not eat and not drink and not sleep, and I will only speak for the glories of Krishna and chant Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and associate with the devotees. But then at some point of his fast, he cannot completely do it. So basically, on the previous level, devotee, he wants to situate himself steadily, but again and again he fails. And on this level, he's already situated steadily, but when he wants to increase his spiritual practice again and again, he's not able to do it. And after some time, devotee, he's able to do even this. When he fixes his mind to increase his devotional service, he can do it. His determination is so strong, his spiritual intelligence is so fixed that he can do it. And then Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is saying, a byproducts of bhakti appears. What are these byproducts? Well, adoration, glorification from others, wealth, and so on and so on. And then the devotee may start thinking, well, good job, Tulasi Prabhu. Now you are perfect. And now you can just sit down and enjoy, because the job is finished. Now it's time for sense gratification. And then this can be the reason for the fall down of this devotee for some period of time. So basically he can start thinking that, okay, actually I'm the goal is achieved. The goal was getting to higher sense gratification, and now the goal is achieved. Now everybody understood how great devotee I am, how pure I am, and everybody will worship me and glorify me and giving me presents and this and that. And then if devotee goes above this, then his life, his devotional life comes to the platform of steady bhajana kriya, steady devotional service. Of course, someone may say, well, that means those devotees who they reached the last level and they decided maybe to get some subtle sense gratification by getting some glorification from others and some honor from others, that means they are really low. They are very fallen. Actually, these are extremely high devotees because they went very, very successfully through their other levels. And because they became a storehouse of good qualities, amazing qualities, that's why they become so attractive. And that's why people, they want to be always around them, and they want to uh, glorify them. They want to give them presents. So that means that they are already on a very high level. But just Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur is warning that at that point, the devotee should be careful not to get this, because he should always remember, it's all for Krishna. It's not for me. Idam Krishnaya. Idam Namama. When we are making yagya sacrifices, we are always repeating, Idam Krishna, Idam Nama. It's for Krishna. It's meant for the pleasure of Krishna. It's not meant for my pleasure. So the devotee, he should think, okay, this is not because of my credit. This is because of my credit of my guru, of Krishna. That's why. So all the worship, all the glory, all the presence, all the fame, everything should go to them. I should not take any credit for myself. And if the devotee has this way of thinking on this level of devotional service, then his progress will continue to be very steady and firm and easy onwards. And then we know there are a few levels after that, but after that it becomes very easy. When the devotee becomes steady in his devotional service, it becomes very, very easy. And the happiness of devotional service increases unlimitedly. So this is the big fight, the big battle to go through these levels. Once we are done with this, then spiritual life becomes very easy, very steady. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Would you like to add something, Chandrasekhara Maharaj, Bhakti Prabha Maharaj?
Since the verse mentioned it, I thought might be a good time to see if we've got this kind of timeline straight. We know that the sages at Naimisharanya, when they were going to have their 1,000-year sacrifice, that Lord Balaram came, and Romaharshan was seated, but he didn't pay proper respect to Lord Balaram, and he was killed by a blade of grass. So that means Balaram was still on the earth plane at that time. But it was a 1,000-year sacrifice. So it went on for 1,000 years. I don't know whether that was at the beginning of the 1,000 years, or it was in the middle or the end of the 1,000 years, or whatever. Now, we know that the Parikshit is talking with Sukadev Goswami, and Krishna's already left. The Pandavas have already left. You know, the Battle of Kurukshetra is long over. So that's much later. And yet we hear the sages at Naimisharanya wanted to hear what Parikshit told Sukadev Goswami. I mean, what Sukadev Goswami told the Parikshit. So evidently he must have come back, that he started that sacrifice, or he was involved in the sacrifice at Naimisharanya. It went on for a long time. He heard the exchange between Parikshit and Sukadev Goswami, and then he came back, because the chronology is a little kind of zigzaggy. It's kind of confusing. And then we ask about, well, when is Maitreya speaking with Vidura, right? That's after Krishna has left. We know that from Bhagavatam, that, you know, sometime after Krishna left. I don't know whether the Pandavas have already left, but certainly Krishna has left at that time and Balaram has left at that time. So it looks like the sages at Naimisharanya were started, but they never got to the real heart of the issue. They had started their 1,000-year yajna. And then, of course, Balaram came and changed the speaker from Romaharshan to Romaharshan Sutta, so that happened. Then Krishna left the planet and instructed, but just before he did, Vidura to take shelter of Maitreya. So that happened. And then later on, the Pandavas have left, Krishna's left. Parikshit has been king for some time. And then after being king for some time, he is cursed. And at that point, then Sukadeva Goswami comes and instructs him. And in that group, there is Sutta Goswami who's listening to that exchange. And then he goes back to the sages at Naimisharanya. I think that's how the chronology works. Is that correct as far as you know? Yeah, I think that's how it works.
So that means that it looks like there was a little bit a gap between Roma Harshana Sutta speaking and his son starting to speak. It looks like that. It looks like that there was little gap between Roma Harshana Sutta speaking and his son Sutta Goswami.
Right. Yeah. We don't. It's not clear exactly what the chronology is there, but since we hear that the sages at Naimisharanya are wanting to hear what Sukadeva said, and they're wanting to hear it from Sutta Goswami, that must have been later. But since it's 1,000-year sacrifice, it could have been later. So it started at one point. Obviously, it started during the time when it was first beginning. That's when they had the sacrifice, and there was so much smoke that all of them had their eyes burning, that kind of thing. And Balaram came, so that must have been earlier part of the sacrifice, and then they must have come back. That Sukadeva had spoken to Parikshit, and Sutta Goswami heard it, and then came back and reported to them at some later time. So that's the way I put it together. I just thought that I would bring that out.
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Maharaj.
I felt very enlivened when you spoke of Madhurya Kadambini. I've been traveling during 15 years, 2-3 months every year with Prahlad Nanda Maharaj. Prahlad Nanda Maharaj at a certain moment gave seminars on Madhurya Kadambini and Harinam Chintamani. And I was traveling with him from place to place, so I heard this seminar again and again and again. But I just, to avoid some misconceptions, because there are a few subtle things. Bhajana Kriya is anistita, is unstudied devotional service.
Yes.
And in that devotional service, some purification is going on, so that one becomes steady, nishtita bhajana kriya. But nishtita bhajana kriya is factually anartha nivritti. Then the cleansing of the heart starts really going
strongly
on. Your previous karma is removed and so on.
Okay.
And that can take 30, 40 years, 50 years, a whole lifetime. And then you come to Nishtha. And Nishtha is liberation. Liberation. Pramabhuta pashanatma na shostina kangshati. Samsavesha bhujamat bhaktim labhati. That's liberation. So, but one can, then you have 3 levels of devotees. The Kanishta and the Madhyam. and the Uttam.
Mhm.
The Madhyam Adhikar devotee, he's on Nishta, he's liberated. One can act as a Madhyam Adhikar, like you are a book distributor, you give your whole life to the mission of Prabhupada, you act as a Madhyam Adhikar. But that does not mean you are a Madhyam Adhikar. You are still on the Kanishta platform. The Kanishta platform is very, very broad. When I was traveling with Prahlad Maharaj and we were alone at some time, he said that in front of everyone at the end of this course, I'm a Kanishta. One can say, oh, that's out of humility. But let's consider Kanishta is a very broad spectrum. There are those who are nearly liberated, that they are also Kanishtas. And there are those who are beginners who are going to this Bhajana Kriya and so on. It's a big spectrum. And we should consider that being liberated is not a cheap thing. That when Srila Prabhupada said, we should come to the Madhyam platform, the Madhyam platform, the platform of being liberated. Then you don't take birth again. At least we should try to come to that platform. So that is many times a misconception I've seen by many senior devotees. Therefore, when the sannyas candidates, they must fill in questions, essay questions, and they have to explain on the basis of Madhurya Kambina from Shraddha to Prema, on which level they are, and show with the symptoms. And we had a few who were, on, let's say, they were thinking they were on the level of Asakti and on the level of Bhava. But then if we had a serious talk with them, it seemed they were not yet on the liberated platform. So they fell down again. But anyway, that's just to clear some misconceptions. Maybe Maharaj has some comment.
I was trying to understand what you were saying, but I had a lot of trouble. I'd like to hear it again. I know that there's a very interesting part. If it's in the Madhurya Kadambini or somewhere else, where it talks about how certain things are purified. It says there is a Atyantiki, absolutely purified. There's Prayiki, there's these different stages of purification. And for one's, unwanted things in the heart, that gets purified at the very last stages, whereas some of the other parts are purified much earlier than that. So it's evidently a layered process, that some things are removed from the heart, but not others. And they are not removed completely. They're moved, as it says, Bahu Deshi, something or another, and then there's Ekadeshi, or there's one that's it's removed like partially, then removed pervasively, then removed completely, then removed absolutely, so right.
By studying that, my understanding is that when one comes to the so by studying this Madhurya Kadambini and hearing it many times, because when one comes to Nishta, the stage of liberation, practically 90% of one ordinary karma has gone. But some subtle things, some profit and distinction, because these subtle things makes one still identify subtly with the body, and that goes up to bhava. Because in prema it is completely gone, but that's very subtle, and they practically don't suffer anymore.
Karma, there's, parabdha, aparabdha, bija, and kutastha. So there's those different aspects of karma, and I don't know at what level those get removed. So there's a gradual, again, layering process that we have aparabdha karma, which is karma that hasn't hit us yet. We have parabdha karma, that's the karma that we're currently suffering through. And then there's the bija, or the seed, which I think is carried from other lifetimes, where we have, that's why some people are really prone to a particular kind of vice, And then there's kutastha, which is as the, karma that gets built up over time.
I heard Bhanu Maharaj saying in a lecture, this body is parabdha karma. And if all your karma is gone, you disappear, because the body is not there anymore. So, yeah, but Shelpap said this parabdha karma is like a fan. You pull out electricity and it starts going for some time. So it runs out. Yeah, interesting. Thank you.
Thank you very much for. It's very nice when a senior devotees are discussing transcendental subject matters.